I wouldn't want to call you Moses, but Moises is beautiful. My friend, I've been looking forward to this for at least 2 years now. We finally get you on for a segment. How are you? Give us some context on background and what you're building.
Oh no, Viraj, super happy to finally be here. I know we've been back and forward with this forever. So we did it. We did it. No, I'm good. A little bit of context about me for your audience. My name is Moises Barbera. I am the founder of Drill Surgeries. And we have essentially created what is Google Maps for the operating room. What that means is we are targeting a niche. This niche is broken bones. And there's a big problem. Over 60 million broken bones a year. They take up to 2 hours to operate. It's been like this for at least 80 years. It's a very rudimentary trial and error process. So we have created Google Maps for the OR. Now we have created a piece of software. It runs on any mixed reality headset, and it allows the doctor to know exactly where to operate that broken bone without x-rays, without trial and error, without having to wait those 2 hours.
And so they could stick on like a Vision Pro or one of these like more high-tech kits, and they have the ability to run the software and can go and fix that broken bone faster than what it would take normally.
Yeah, exactly. Like for reference, like today you will be breaking your bone the same way a pencil snaps, just like this. And to fix it, a doctor will be shooting X-ray after X-ray, trying to put this together, trying to see if they have to screw nails so this basically doesn't move. It's 2 hours of this. It's very rudimentary in 21st century. So we create a piece of software and it runs on this. A mixed reality headset just like this one. So
Wow.
now a doctor just puts this on in the middle of the operating room. They look at the bone and they say, okay, I have to operate here 90-degree inclination for 2 centimeters. I have to operate here for 45 degrees inclination, 3 centimeters. And that's it. You're good to go.
And it's as simple as that. So you can walk in with a broken bone and you can walk out in what is the speed of the time frame now? Is it faster, significantly faster? Is it 80% reduction?
So it is actually 87% reduction in
87% reduction.
the doctor still needs to put in the work to find where the bone is broken and everything. But when they have to operate, it's no longer, hey, do I have to operate here? Shoot an X-ray. No, it's like, okay, I operate here, boom, boom, and I'm done. So 87% reduction
That is
in
incredible.
drilling time.
How do you stumble into an idea like this, right? Is your background in medicine, or was it something that you felt yourself?
So I'm actually a theoretical physicist by background. I got a master's in theoretical physics. I dropped out of a PhD in theoretical physics. But this is very close to my heart because I actually grew up around operating rooms. So my dad's been a salesman of medical equipment all his life. He's been selling implants, prosthetics, like pieces of metal just like this to doctors, which is what they do use to operate. So growing up, he would pick me up after school, take me to work with him, and he would say, when he says, I have to visit this doctor, we need to do a quick presentation, or I have to help him in this surgery. It's very simple. It's going to take 30 minutes. And it could take 4 or 5 hours until he'd be back. I could be asleep on the lobby of a random hospital. So growing up, all I knew was prosthetics, implants, how to operate broken bones before I turned 10 years old.
Mhm.
I knew more about healthcare than I knew about football, and I am Spanish. So that is a big sin, let's say.
That's a huge sin. They would crucify you for that.
Oh, they're good. They're good.
That is incredible. So
So,
theoretical physicist
yeah.
dropped out, had a background in medicine through osmosis, and then with your dad breaking like selling these products, you realizing that there was a niche. When did that happen? Like was it during the PhD or was it slightly further along the line?
So, when I was growing up, it was I am frustrated at this. I don't want to be in the operating room. Why is this a problem? Let's say, why is this a problem? So at that point, I knew I wanted to solve problems. I was frustrated at the healthcare system. I wanted nothing to do with it. But I was 10 years old. So what can a 10-year-old uh, have a problem with? So for me, that was magic and magic tricks. So I actually took magic very seriously. I don't know if you knew that, but when I was 30 years old, I had my first magic show in front of 500 people when I was 18, I did my last magic show in front of 8,000 people.
Incredible.
So I always had this thirst to build something big, to solve a big problem. So I get to do this work on magic, on the show business, let's say, take it seriously. I'm satisfied with it, but I need more. I need bigger problems because I'm still not satisfied, let's say. So I go into theoretical physics. I fall in love with programming and building complex algorithms. So at some point, I go to China and I start building algorithms for self-driving cars. Then I need a bigger problem. So I go to Switzerland and I spent a few months there building tracking algorithms for the Large Hadron Collider, where they have this proton. So I'm tracking the smallest thing in the world, trying to make sure it's precise and in trajectory and everything. Then I spent I built a whole thesis around how to build and design a dark matter detector, which they end up building. So I get to do all these many things. And in between, I continue doing physics and everything, but it's not until I go back to Spain and I start for a visit for a quick week. And I start visiting all these doctors with my dad, just as we used to do when I was a kid. And one of these doctors comes and tells me, well, Moises, what have you done? And I say, well, I found a way to navigate cars without drivers, referring to my work in self-driving cars in China. He said, wouldn't it be nice if we could navigate surgeries without doctors? And I just became obsessed. I became obsessed with
When you
this
put it
idea
like that,
because
it makes a lot of sense. Like, why can't we do that?
exactly. So I I was looking for problems to solve. Let's say I was looking for a meaningful problem to solve, and this was it. It's like, well, now that you mention it, like, why was I spending 5 hours in the lobby of a hospital when I was 7, when my dad told me it would only take 30 minutes? So it's like, oh, well, because some surgeries are still outdated and it's trial and error. And I said, well, why it's trial and error? And I start asking all these why, all these questions. And at some point, I just became obsessed with this problem to the point in which this is the perfect circle for me. So there's no one that's going to ever have more passion than I have to solve a problem as big as this one.
He's scratching his own itch of just wanting to spend time with your dad. Like, I think that's a beautiful way to start
Yeah.
a company and then turn it
Mhm.
into a larger than life business. I've got to ask, we haven't had the pleasure of having a lot of people building in healthcare and, and building software in that capacity. Is it difficult, given
Yeah.
the rules and regulations, given the amount of doctors you have to you talk to, the amount of clearances you must have to get to make sure that it's okay and it is consistently reliable?
It is not easy indeed. It is not easy indeed. And it is a long journey, a very lonely journey. And it is a very complex world for an outsider. So I'm not within the healthcare sector. I am not with part of the operating room, even though I've spent my fair share of time inside of one. So you have to position yourself to the point in which you have to talk to as many doctors as you can. I've spoken to at least 200 doctors across the world before I even started the company. So I needed to make sure this was a real problem that existed across geographies, that there was a real need for a solution.
Can I ask,
So
in that process, do you remember the doctor that you talked to realized that this was the problem and then continued to do the rest? Was there a significant one in all in the 200?
I don't think there was just a significant one. Like it was just a number of conversations that I had with doctors just by being on the center of the operating room, uh, just by being on the lobby of the hospital when my dad was doing yet another visit 7 years ago. Um, so yeah, I do remember the first doctor, I believe, but at the end of the day, it was like a compound of doctors saying like, "Oh, then why? What about this? And what about that? And what about this?" And then I like, well, there's two, three, four doctors telling me about this problem now. How many are there that I need to look for? And that's when I started to reach out everywhere.
Is the application of the algorithm the same when it comes to self-driving cars to what you're building today?
Not at all.
Completely
It's
different.
completely different. It's completely different. I thought there would be many similarities, but at the end of the day, like there's things that you have to control when it comes to self-driving cars. So there's different sensors like ultrasounds and lidar sensors and everything. Some of which are shared with mixed reality headset. For example, we also have lidar sensors in these things, but here we rely heavily on computer vision, uh, and having volumetric markers in space, like all these tricky things, which in mixed reality, which is a very niche field, especially when it comes to coding new platforms for this type of hardware ecosystem, especially as they evolve. So this Microsoft HoloLens is from 2020, if I'm not mistaken. We started building the code back in 2019, but now Apple came in 2023 or 2024 with Vision Pro. So now you have to translate the whole platform to this new headset that has different cameras, different sensors. So the core story with this is you get to build a very complex piece of work that has to evolve as hardware evolves. And it has to be as simple and intuitive and precise, which is the tricky part. When you are in the operating room targeting a hole that's 2 millimeters, you have to be as precise as you can.
Taking you back to the early days, when you're building a company like this and you're going through the motions of talking to your customers, your doctors, etc. Like, what is the mental toll of that? Obviously, it's global, right? So it's across countries, across continents. Like, how difficult did you find it as an individual to go through that process?
Like as a person, it's not easy. And when I started, I was alone. Back in 2019, like I was the one building the code. I was the one sending the emails to reach out to doctors. I was the one using the little money I had to pay for planes, for trains to go anywhere I could meet a doctor. And you could find times in which you've been talking with this doctor for a month, especially for 2 months or 3 months when you're starting. And then you just take a train or a flight, as I've done in the past, and you're like, okay, I'm here. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, but I'm on call, so I will not be able to see you for the next 2 days. And you definitely did not prepare for this. But in my case, I didn't even have the resources. So that meant I had to spend a lot of time sleeping at Houston Station, things like that. I didn't really have a place to stay. I couldn't afford it. So my whole mindset was, I need to get this meeting. I need to talk to these people. So I will do whatever it takes. But I couldn't really share my insecurities or how lonely I was feeling or how anxious I was feeling of not knowing what was going to happen next. And as a from the personal point of view, and that did create a big toll for a few years that, well, took me some time to get over with.
And we're glad that you're at the end of it, and we're like you are quite literally saving lives. I think in tech we kind of get lost in, as we were talking earlier, we get lost in the fact that it's like, oh, it's just software, it's just hardware. We don't sit here and save lives. But I think it's important to realize that there are industries where that happens, and you are quite literally living and breathing that reality.
It is like it's like we're finally in a point in which we have built a product that can be used by doctors, even if it's just on plastic bones, but we are moving over plastic bones already, like we're already operating on patients. And to see the impact of what you have created, to see that all those sleepless nights have led to a point in which now you've got a doctor who's someone professional, impartial, uh, using your technology and saying, this product removes the fear I have before any of these operations, because now I know where to operate. I no longer have to rely on the X-ray technician to do the job, or I don't have to rely on the patient being properly fixed in place and whatnot. Being able to hear those thoughts from the doctor, being able to see the impact it creates on patients by giving them a faster surgery, giving them less infections, less anesthetics, less blood loss. Like just sit down and you get to breathe all of this in, and it actually feels really, really nice.
What does go to market look like for this? Do you end up having to go door to door to a lot of hospitals and win doctors over in Europe, or is the market more towards the US?
So the market in healthcare, it is more towards the US, but mainly because in the US everything is private.
Right.
So you can use the approach of door-to-door sales. So the way we are going to do sales, and where we are doing some of our first sales, is through founder-led sales. So we talked to these doctors that we talked about 7 years ago, and we asked, oh, what we finally found a solution and this and that. So we've kept them engaged over the years. So now we say, hey, I'm gonna be in town. That's also where I'm flying on Sunday. We have a whole US roadshow now, but we were doing like, I'm gonna be in town when I catch up for 15 minutes or 30 minutes. And that's all you really need at the beginning. It's that simple as saying like, oh, here is the bone, we are in your office, here is the headset, and here is the drill. Operate. And to see a doctor, someone that's been operating for the past 40 years, in their office, completing a broken bone surgery, it's unheard of. Of course, you cannot do it with a real patient. It's unheard of. The accuracy, the ease of use within 15 minutes within their own office. They don't have to book an operating room or anything. So that's how you start. You start, and then this doctor likes, and you ask like, well, do you want to use it? They often say yes. So okay, the next stage is to meet the CFO. But this is mostly a surgeon preference product, which means if you like it, the hospital is going to take it.
Got it.
In Europe, it's a little bit more complex because most of the healthcare system is regulated via public hospitals. So any sale needs to be put up for a public contest for a given product solution. Payments can happen after 30, 60, 90 days. In the US, it's more as a company rather than as a bureaucratic institution that you have to navigate. And each country is completely different. So Spain is different than France, it's different than Germany. So we rather focus in the US to start with. We do have letters of intent from Spanish and European hospitals that we will act on when we've got the right traction. But let's start scaling in the US, where we know how the market works, where we can predict our growth and our revenue without having to rely on traffic procedures, basically.
I've got to ask, do you enjoy the roadshow? Like it's a big deal, obviously, for winning over customers and like getting in front of them and actually talking to them and making that pitch, right? And as you said, if the surgeon likes it, the hospital's gonna like it. But like you as the founder and someone that has to sell this thing 24/7, do you genuinely enjoy those moments?
So I do. I actually do. Like I don't always enjoy the hours before a flight. I find them very stressful and anxious because I'm like, well, I have to do all this work, but now I'm going to spend 4 hours of trains waiting before I even get to my plane and I can sit down. So it's stressful in the sense of I've got all these many things I want to do and I am not allowed to do them because there's so many moving parts I have to be ready for. But I take around 60 flights every year, 60 flights. And for example, when we are now preparing to do the US roadshow for summer, it's like 1 week, 5 states. So it's one flight per day. So Baltimore, Kentucky, Boston, New Hampshire, etc. So one flight per day. Um, for me, it's exciting because it's like I'm in a position in which I am in which I have to do these things for work. So it's commuting basically. The exciting part is this is a people business. And the only way in which this is going to work out is if I'm sitting down here with you and I'm explaining this product to you and you get to use it. Because once I get you excited, and I am very excited about this, at the end of the day, excitement, enthusiasm, all of this is contagious. So if the doctor that you're sharing this with gets excited the same way you are and they find the product useful and helpful, then they will talk about this to their trainees, to their colleagues. So for me, it's one flight, but for them, it's like the next 5 conferences talking about this. So at the end of the day, it pays off, and I'm happy with that.
I can imagine it does. Long term, what's the vision here? Is it that this is a piece of software every hospital uses in the world, whether that's the NHS, whether that's the Indian hospitals in South India, for example? south of India, for example. Maybe there's a hospital in South America, potentially in the middle of the Amazon, that has access to this software. Is that the goal, or is there something larger you're playing for here?
So my vision is big, it's ambitious. And my vision is to create the first piece of software that helps doctors operate any broken bone in any surgical scenario. So as ambitious as it can get for the field of
Sounds
orthopedics
like
and
something
trauma.
out of Grey's Anatomy, where Dr. Yang
Exactly.
goes to Switzerland and they have the reconstruction of the heart. It's
Yeah,
almost like that level of insane.
it is, but it's like, do you need to think that way? And then if you think that way, you can create a path to reach that goal. And you can also find the minimum, the common denominators in all this situation. So that's how we got to this point. It's like, okay, we're studying the way in which a broken arm breaks. Turns out a broken femur, a broken tibia breaks the same way.
No,
Then we
really.
understand it's the same, which means the process to operate it, the techniques will be similar. So we start studying the implants, which is what doctors will use. These are screws that fix things together, like this one. But then it turns out there's 10 different surgeries that require implants that look like this or similar. So we start to extrapolate, and you end up with a pool of over 60 million patients every year that undergo a surgery that has a common denominator with our initial target market. And now we're just building for it. So we are launching humerus, we are launching tibia, we are launching femur, we're launching shoulder operations, spine operations. And this is only in the next 2 or 3 years. So give us 10 years and we'll own the market.
Does that manifest itself as like a foundational model?
Can you repeat that part? Sorry.
Sorry, does this manifest as a foundational model, or does it look like something else altogether?
What did you mean with foundational model? Sorry, Rush.
When I say that, I mean like like we have a foundational model, a large language model for LLMs. Would this
Yes.
be a foundational
Yes.
model for bones essentially? Computer, highly trained on a highly trained model on breaks. And so that software can be implemented into the headset, and then any doctor anywhere in the world will have access to the technology.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Like at the end of the day, like we have created the platform so we can locate in real time where
Mhm.
you have to operate. So we can tell you in real time what is happening. So if you're operating a broken arm, the software recognizes it's a broken arm. If you're operating a broken leg, it recognizes a broken leg. So at the end of the day, a hospital in India will use screws that look in a given way. The way in which they will operate is the same one that they are doing in a hospital in New York.
Mhm.
So if you have that common denominator, that foundational model that you mentioned in place, then it's very easy to scale. It's only you only have to take care of the tiny differences, but that makes no real difference for us.
I love it. My friend, I love that you're building something so ambitious. Thank you so much for the time. Enjoy the US Roadshow. I hear it's an amazing time to
Thank
just
you.
experience the energy that is in the US and then come back to Europe and build with us.
Very very soon. It's gonna be a ride. I cannot wait for it. Dude.
I
I'm
can't wait.
loving it.
If we can grab 15 minutes while you're out in Baltimore, we'll slide you in for an invite and you can video call us from the
Nice.
road.
Oh, that's gonna be nice. I like
Yeah,
that. Let's do it.
let's do it. My friend, this has been amazing. Thanks for the time.